Good afternoon, and thank you for joining Down the Rabbit Hole with KD. I am your host, KD, and I am here today with children's author, the very one and only Miss Senyah Haynes. How are you, Miss Haynes? Woo!
Hello. I am wonderful, Miss K. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good on today. These glasses are working my nerves, so I'm probably not going to use them today. Today's show is being sponsored by Amy and John Cripen with Luvolution Superfood. Not sure if you all can see that, but let me get it right for the camera. This is Luvolution Superfood. You can find it at luvolution.net, LUVALUTION.net. It is a great product that I have been using for the past week and a half, almost 2 weeks or so, and it is wonderful. I have noticed an increase in my energy level, my skin, and it's a detox, so that part, but it's a really, really great product, and I would suggest that you use it if you are down on your energy or just want to detox and do some good stuff with your body. Also, would you all please do me a great big favor? Hit that like and share button, and also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And also hit that little alarm button over there in the corner so that you can get all of the notifications from the KD show. And let's just jump right into it. Miss Haynes, please tell our audience who you are.
Ooh, what a multi-layered question. Just a Black girl in the world. I am a children's book author. I am an actress. I'm a youth development professional. I've been working with young people for about 20 years. I am a painter. Lots of things. I think artist covers it for me. I think that's my preferred title. She, her, hers, and artist. Those work.
Yes. Okay. And you're here today because you have you have an interesting product, I would like to say. What is that product, and tell us about it?
Oh, okay. I like your adjective. Well, my current passion project is a children's book series called Jayla's Johns. It is about a little girl and her magical auntie Yaya, and they are traveling from state to state, learning about Black history and culture everywhere they go. And I patterned the little girl on a few people. She's an amalgam. I was a very curious child, and I have an auntie who I thought was very magical. So there's that kind of prototype, but also my little niece. I had her in mind when I was creating this series because I wanted to kind of, just create a very special relationship between an aunt and a niece. And I thought about the things that I would be able to, or that I would love to show her and expose her to if we lived in closer proximity. She's in another state. So yeah, that's the series, and they are traveling state to state in alphabetical order. And so from the beginning, I knew the goal that I was going to, at minimum, write 50 books. And then maybe they jump across the pond. Yes. So, yeah, I've got my marching orders. And, production is, I'm moving. The wheels are moving right now. I had a lull, but the wheels are moving. So the first two books were published in 2017. So that's Jayla's Johns. Okay. Jayla's Johns, all about Alabama.
Okay.
And then Jayla's Johns, Adventures in Alaska. And then the next two books that are coming out this winter. Oh, girl, I've been running from the deadlines. But are Arizona and Arkansas, and I was literally just working on both of those today. Arizona is illustrated. It's out with the editor right now, and Arkansas I'm about to send to the illustrator. So we're moving.
Awesome.
We're moving.
Awesome. What were you doing at the time of conception? Like, what were you, where were you sitting? What were you doing? What were you eating? What were you thinking about? What were you watching on television? That light bulb came on and said, aha. You had that aha moment, and the um the want to do this project, the inspiration for this project.
That's a really good question. I can't get so specific as to the moment, but I know in that general time in my life, I was working with young people, as I have been for years, um, mentoring, working in programs, and I think maybe one of the driving factors was I was thinking about my niece. She was an itty bitty at the time, maybe 3 or 4,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't around her, and I was just kind of reminiscing on the special bond that aunts and nieces have. My auntie, she
Mm-hmm.
lives with me. She's the apple of my eye, and she's always been, since I was a little girl, because she helped raise me. So
Yeah.
I remembered that connection, and I just kind of wanted to create that in some kind of way. Plus, it has been one of my absolute ministries in this world to expose Black youth to culture,
Yes.
to things that we don't necessarily get an opportunity to see and experience, travel, things like that. So those are kind of all the things that were coming together when I thought of this
Mm-hmm.
project. But now that I say it out loud, I guess it was very personal. You know, I was
Yeah.
thinking about my past. I was thinking about the future I would love to see, or have my niece experience, and I was thinking about all the children that I have loved and had in my life, and the things that I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to show them and teach them. So yeah.
Yeah. And I like the fact that she has it's this magical aunt named Yaya, right?
Mhm.
And I know that I don't know which tradition, but I know that Yaya, the name Yaya means something. It's special. I don't, I can't. I've seen that in a couple of different traditions. I've seen that
Mhm.
in, I think, the somewhere. But anyway, I know that term Yaya is a term of endearment um and love, and it's special. And also, what I really liked about the book was how, mostly like with the Disney princesses and things of that nature, the young girls always have like a fairy godmother. But I was impressed that this is our version of the fairy godmother, because aunts are always special. Like you have your mom, then you have your auntie or your TT.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of one of the things that I found interesting with this book. I also think that it, for me, like I read Alabama. I have Jayla Johnson goes, she goes to Alabama and Alaska. And for me as an adult, like to read the one about Alaska, because I'm not really that informed or educated on the state of Alaska, just on its own, and then the Black history in Alaska. Like that never. This is literally. I was last week years old when I learned about the Black history in Alaska, even though I've been to Alaska. And when I went
Mm.
to Alaska, it's not one of those. Well, maybe the place that I was in a little small town called Valdez, Alaska, and it was about literally maybe 5 Black people tops that I saw.
I believe
So
it.
you go to, when you travel to these different places, like I do all the time, you don't think about the Black history or the history period of where you're at. But this was so interesting to me and so informative and so educational. Again, not just for children, but for adults as well.
Thank you for that. Very intentional. Of course, younger people are the audience that I have in mind, but I'm a grown woman. I read children's books. Obviously, it's my field, but they're informational, and the information is digestible. It's clever. It's visually stimulating. If it's a picture book, I've learned about a lot of different things in children's books that I then went and researched. Like, oh my goodness, I never heard of that. And so I'm very intentional about making sure that these are educational. I want to make sure that our young people learn, and that they are learning information that is, just accurately portrayed. Let's say that. And yeah, I mean, you're not alone, okay? Most people who live in the lower 48 don't know much about Alaska, let alone what Black folks are doing there. And quite
Mhm.
frankly, that's something that is very specific to me as a person. Everywhere I go in the world, I am looking for the Black footprint. I have been really enthusiastic about the African diaspora for my entire adult life. So that's just something I do. Everywhere I have traveled, I'm looking for what we have done there. And the reality is we span the globe. We have been everywhere.
We
And
have,
sometimes you
yes.
have to dig for it because sometimes it's forgotten or it's buried or whatever. But if you look for it, you will find our presence. And I think it's very important, and it's definitely very intentional that this little Black girl has her magical Black auntie who is not a fairy godmother. It's her auntie, it's her family, because Black girl magic is real. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Mhm.
this little
Mhm.
girl has her auntie who is her teacher and her guide, taking her through the world to show her that her image is everywhere she wants to go. So feel free. Don't
Everywhere.
be
Yes.
inhibited. Be welcome where you go. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
yeah.
And that's really important, I think, for African American children, because watch this. A lot of times it's hard for us to, like, when you live in a certain um, city or certain state or a certain neighborhood, it's hard for you to imagine that there, and this is, and maybe, and this brought me to, this is my personal experience. It was hard for me to imagine people, Black people, in other places other than, like, other than Chicago, Illinois, and or the United States. And I'm just to show you my ignorance. I Alaska, and I'm just getting back to Alaska just because Alaska is one of those states.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember this is like maybe, gosh, 10 to 15 years ago, when someone was saying that their brother, who was African American, was working in Alaska. And I was like, there's Black people in Alaska. You know what I'm saying? That's how ignorant I was. And it's still to this day, um, when I see a Black Englishman, someone from a Black person from London, England, I'm still like taken, like, oh my God, even though I know that that's what it is. And sometimes it's hard for us to grasp that there are Black people everywhere. We have history everywhere. It's hard to grasp that there are Black people, for some people, for I should say maybe for for children, sometimes to grasp this concept that there are Black people born and raised in Italy and Ireland and Scotland and just all over the world, and there are some children that will never ever explore these places and never leave off the block, never leave out the city, never leave out the state, the country. But to know that to have a book like this where they can travel and they can not only find out the history of that place within their history, that is so awesome to me, because I'm learning. I'm I'm learning. I mean, it's just still, I mean, some people can't fathom that concept, especially with the mainstream media. The mainstream media will have you believe that we're just only here, we're stuck here. And then, just for like instances like how they tried to portray Africa to us. No one wanted to go to Africa. We just found out Africa was beautiful 10, 15, 20 years ago. Like, because they would portray this desolate, destitute, all the kids are Ethiopian. You know what I'm saying? That whole mind set, that whole concept of other places and how Black people are in different places. So I appreciate this, and I think this is absolutely wonderful for children who might not get that opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, mainstream media can do a number on one's head, and we're all kind of swimming in the same water. I think that that's really one of the reasons why representative art is very important. It's very important that we tell our children our stories so that we can tell them the way that we know them to be. And I really would like to uh, be a part of the change in that paradigm where we don't just expect to see ourselves everywhere. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That was very intentional, that
Mhm.
we think that way and that we're surprised to see someone look like us speak another language. The fact
Mhm.
that we don't have that education and that that's not normal to us, it's intentional.
Mhm.
And so I would love to be a part of breaking that cycle by
Mhm.
intentionally showing the opposite and the truth.
Mhm.
Nah, we're everywhere. We've been everywhere. We've done everything. There's no place that you can go that someone has not trailed before you and done something probably phenomenal that you can, look at with pride, and you can kind of set your sights to that and say, oh, okay, I have a model, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, yeah. I just, I love above all else just the thought of just free children,
Mhm.
free children. Very
Mhm.
important to me. Very
Mhm.
important to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Where are you in your books? I know you said that we know that you have Alabama, you have Alaska, and you just said what, Arkansas? So Arkansas is
Yeah. So Alabama and Alaska were the first two. Next in line
Mhm.
is Arizona, and then Arkansas, and then that completes
Arizona.
the A's. And then we're
Okay.
moving on to the C's. And so California is actually written as well. So as soon as I'm done with my A's, I'm going to start working on polishing that and getting that out. And then Colorado. Colorado will be the first time that I'm actually starting to write again. But that's me going through the research process. There were a couple of people that I needed to reach out to get some permissions, things like that. So I think that's the technical work of writing. Colorado is where I'm going to get back into that, because I had these stories already created and I have done all that work for these ones so far. But pretty soon, so like the top of next year, I should be doing that. That's researching the history, the stories, the icons, the landmarks. That's researching that. That's going there
Yeah.
if I'm able,
Yeah.
if a pandemic
Yeah.
allows. That's reaching out to the people who or the people's estates or family, if they're no longer with us, to see if I have permission to tell their story. And it's a
Mhm.
lot that goes with it. But yeah, so the A's, there's 4 A's, and then we're getting into the C's, and I'm just keep going. Just keep going.
So you've written up to California?
I've written up to California. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, how much well, let's talk about your writing process. Is
Mm-hmm.
our children's books, is this the only, well, I know this obviously, well, the audience doesn't know that this isn't
Mm-hmm.
your only project that you've written, because you've written plays,
Yeah.
screenplays. Am
Mm-hmm.
I right?
Yeah.
And so, but what is your general, I know probably each, or maybe not, but what is your writer's process like? Is it different from your, when you write a stage play, when you write a screenplay, from when you
Mm-hmm.
write the books, or is it kind of the same thing?
Mm-hmm. So I am a big picture person. Like, I'm a visionary. So I often, 9 times out of 10, have the end in mind
Me
when I
too.
start. Okay. Yeah. So it's
Me
like
too.
I have
I
this
know
huge
the
thing I
end.
want to do. Like, I
Yeah,
want
I
like
know
the
the
people up
beginning
to
and the
the,
end. It's the middle
and then
part
it's like,
that's like, okay, let's make this up. Right,
yeah, let's
right,
like go
okay.
dial it back. Okay, so what steps
Uh-huh.
do I need to take to get there?
Mm-hmm.
So and that can manifest in so many ways. So with the idea, that can manifest in, I want this series or this project or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or it could manifest in, I have this phrase I can't get out of my mind. I want that to be the title of something, and then I
Mm-hmm.
go backwards from there. So it's usually with some, like, not completely fleshed out, but like some full-bodied idea that's
Right,
complete. And then me
right.
going backwards, like, okay, what are the steps to get there? How many do I want in it? Or should it be a one-off? Things like that. As far as the actual business of writing, like, okay, I gotta quit procrastinating and sit down and write.
And
Um,
right.
the funny thing is, I learned about myself because, sometimes we just don't pay attention to ourselves. Other people got to tell us about us, which is so funny because we are
Mm-hmm.
literally legit with ourselves 24/7. But other people be like, you do that, right? And be like, oh,
Right.
I guess I do. So I had to be told about myself that I actually have a very particular process. Someone who was living with at the time. So when I'm in my mode, like daily, I'm gonna set out time and I'm gonna write. Usually, like I like to be comfortable. I'm in the house, right? So I have like my house coat on if it's the winter. So I'm like warm and comfortable. I have to have a hot beverage, right? So I go, I get my tea, and then I usually light a scented candle. And that's just for the aroma. And
Yeah.
then for that light, obviously I'm not writing by candlelight. Thank God I can pay the light bill. But I have that there. Hey,
But
hey,
how cool would that be,
that always
right?
pays, right? And then I usually set my technology on my phone. I'll have I need some white noise. So I like rain. So like if I'm warm and I have my warm beverage, but I hear rain and where my
Yes.
desk is out the window, and Chicago, we got messed up weather 9 months out the year. So usually I'm looking at something overcast or snowy or whatever. Like
Okay.
that's my jam. That gets me in the ultimate creative space.
Writer's mode. Yeah.
And it doesn't take much, but that's the environment that I create for myself. And that's where I can find best flow, where I look up and it's like, oh my God, 4 hours. What happened? Let me go.
Yeah.
Let me go pee. So that's my process for the actual creative act of like sitting, thinking, crafting words, finding them. But as far as like, for instance, this series, the larger process of bringing like idea to product, I have my formula, 50 states done, so I know where I'm looking for research. I'm looking for I have my illustrator that I work with, so like I have my players, I have my crew, and I just kind of do the work in order. So like when I'm ready for the next book I'll actually be writing, which is Colorado, I've already done some research for it, so now it's like, okay, I've amassed 50 data points about Black culture in Colorado. I wrote this book about so many pages. I need to chop that down. Let me get like 3 good ones. What are my top 3, right? Once I get those, it's like, okay, do a little more research on those top 3. And then it's like, okay, who's involved? Who would care that who might have a problem that I wrote?
Right.
So whoever that is, let me go find them and make it right. Because I'm not trying to get sued. I'm not trying to have anyone salty. Most people typically are flattered. It's like, what? Me? You want my sin? It's like, yeah, you matter. And people should know about you,
Right.
So then I go through that process. And once I am confirmed that like, these are the data points, this is the content, and this is approved. And then I get to writing and I really think about it from a relationship stance. Like, what would this woman who loves this child so much and she just wants to impart the world of knowledge to her in a fun way, because she's magical, she's shape-shifting, she's time traveling, she's costume changing, like the girl is fly, right?
Yeah, bad. She doing all types of stuff.
So I started thinking about the dialogue.
Oh God.
And what would that back and forth be like? What would this little girl ask her auntie? What would this woman tell her niece? So that's kind of, I hope I answered your question, but like in a bigger picture, what the process is looking like.
Yeah.
Fun.
How much research? It does research obviously depend on the state, but about how much and do you travel to these states to like get the feel of the place, or do you just do all of your research? You travel? That's awesome.
I love to travel. I've only been to 25 of these 50 states. So the answer is, do I travel to all of them? No. So for Alabama and Alaska, no, I didn't go to Alaska. That is still on my golden list. The research was mostly through books and online, doing research. And Alabama, as the first book, is really what I like to call like, you got the Black History Month rates in there because it was like introductory, right? So it's folks like, we know about Tuskegee, we know about Rosa, George Washington Carver,
Right.
I kind of opened up to like whet people's appetite with, okay, Auntie Yaya is going to be focusing on this kind of content. But then when I go into other books, it's lesser known stuff, but some people do know about the Alcan Highway and the Army Corps of Engineers. But now that I'm getting into the series, it is my greatest joy to dig for those hidden gems and talk about
Yes.
somebody that nobody's talking about. And
Yes.
oftentimes that, well, let's say to date, that hasn't required me to go anywhere. But California, which I'm a California native, so it gives me a good reason to go see home. I actually did do research pre-COVID. I was just there in February. There's one woman that I am writing about or have written about in California, and I knew that she had a monument, and so I wanted to go and actually look at the monument and see some stuff surrounding that. Now, did I need to go for the book to come out and be great? No, I didn't need to physically go, but I do like to go when at all possible. So I guess the answer to your question is yes and no. Yeah. As far as research, do I travel there? Sometimes. And will I? Do I want to? Yeah, I'm always down for a plane ticket.
Right. Getting back to your history. That is one thing that's another thing that I was going to say is that I'm impressed at the fact that you're not doing just the normal, everyday, average, already, popular history. For instance, when we were in grammar school, Black History Month was a very big thing for the school, like for us. Black History Month was a big thing, period. Like we had assemblies, we had to do a project, we had to research 25 Black people and put together a report. We had to pick one of those Black people and dress up as them and come and tell our story. Like it was a big
That's awesome.
So we even at church, we used to have like the Black History Bowl where you had to learn the facts and you raise your hand, all that good stuff. But it seems like over the years that has diminished. And like by the time my children got into school, we were down to just Harriet. We were only down to Martin Luther King. We wasn't even at. It wasn't even. They didn't talk about Harriet no more. We was only at Martin Luther King, and it's like that is the token Black history person, And I think it's just amazing again how you are bringing up facts and history for the not so common Black History Month people. We know about Harriet, we know about Malcolm, Martin. Just started really learning. They just started really kind of talking about Malcolm. Just in the last whatever. Like
when it's safe.
When I was little, there was no Malcolm. Like we didn't talk about Malcolm. It was Martin, and Malcolm was. I learned Malcolm at home with my mother and my father and my grandmama and them. But at school, there was no Malcolm. So for you to bring out just not the average, like you said, those hidden gems of Black history within these books, that is so awesome, Senyah. This book needs to. I don't know. It blew me away. Aww. And this book needs to literally be in every school. I don't know your marketing plan, but it needs to be in every school. It needs to be part of try to figure out how to make it part of a curriculum or something. Literally, these books need to be whatever. I see a series. Hint, hint. And I also see you not expanding, going global, doing international, get her. She's okay. So she did the United States. Now let's go to where we're going, Mexico. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to Europe. Let's go to, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Let's go. Jayla, she got her auntie is bomb. Her yaya is bomb. Let's go. So that's what I'm hoping to see from this.
Oh yeah, you're totally in my head. Now I told you I'm a big picture person, so I mean, the globe is what I was thinking of at first, like the world, and then it's like, okay, let's scale that. Let's focus that. It's like, okay, let's start at home.
And then by the time she's 20-something, 30-something years, or whoever, maybe she grows up as she goes. Who knows? I don't know. But
I
if you
feel
do
like
that,
people
you
like
know
the
what I'm saying?
Simpsons, just ageless. She's just gonna be this eternal, precocious little 8-year-old. I think I
Is
like her
she?
like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
love it. I
For
love
all
it.
the generations to
I love it.
yeah.
Your financing, not to really dig into it, but um, for those readers, for those viewers who are looking to write a book, there's so many people out there that say, "Hey, I want to write a book." What is it that I need to do to write a book? How much am I looking for to write a book? Can you talk about that a little bit, and how can they get financing for their book? What were some of the ideas? What were some of the things that you did to raise money to get your book, or did you just have it, or
Girl, bye. So at
did you
first
have to
I did a
beg, borrow,
Kickstarter.
steal?
Yeah. So at first I did a Kickstarter, and the life of the indie artist, right? You know this very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's part creativity, part wizardry. So I did
I like
initially do
that.
a Kickstarter campaign. But Kickstarter is one of those crowdfunding that's all or nothing. So it wasn't funded.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nothing. But then I had a very generous donor come in, just swoop in, because she had seen me from the Kickstarter campaign. And her financing actually helped me get the first 2 books out. And so she's got a dedication in my first book in perpetuity. And then really it's just collaborating with people, artists who are like-minded. So a good friend of mine, Eddie Pierce from Rainbow Room Publishing,
Mm-hmm.
he's an indie publisher, and he read my work, and he was really thrilled about it, which just was really heartening to me. And he has been phenomenal. So the next 3, the 2 that I'm working on in the next book, so we've got a 3-book deal where Rainbow Room Publishing is
Awesome.
co-sponsoring, and so and there are financial implications with that. So it's just networking, and
Good.
I would not consider myself a chief networker. Really, I have been very blessed that, like, where my work does get exposure, I have had some
Yeah.
really sincere and interested people who kind of approached me and were like, I want to help you take this further. And I gratefully accept. So I think that for most writers, though, I think that the problem of financing is down the line. Like, doesn't everybody say I want to write a
Mm-hmm.
book? I think the biggest problem is, like, first
Writing.
writing the book,
Writing
right?
the
Like,
book.
that's
That's right.
that's the work. Like, get
That's
your
right.
product. And, like, if you worried about, if you ain't got first word to paper, and you worried about how down the road it's gonna, you think about the wrong thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Write the book.
You procrastinating, really. So write the book. Get your mind together to get your content, find your inspiration, and actually write it. And then I just find that the universe takes care of things like that. When you have your
Yeah,
passion and you go forward, you're propelled and supported, right? So
that's
uh,
true.
when I am working on my books, I am 90% of the time in creator mode. And I
Mm-hmm.
personally believe that the passion that I put into that helps me get that other percentage of, like, business. That is very important, because you don't want, you don't write something and it's just there with you, just a pile
That's
of
right.
stuff around your bed. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
yeah, but I would say to aspiring writers, write the book. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you pass that very important benchmark, then go seek your next counsel, and it'll come.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How often do you write? Do you write every day? Is this something that you do on a daily basis, or is it by inspiration only? Is it by deadline? Is how often do you write?
Girl, don't say the D word. Don't do it. Yeah. So, I
I have a deadline that's so stupid right now. It's like,
girl, that's a whole other book. Stupid deadlines. How they messed my life up.
I'm
Um,
smiling. I'm smiling, but on the inside, I'm like,
yeah, I get
I
it.
gotta do this. Like,
I get it. I'm gonna be a bad writer when I say no, I don't write every day. And
No,
then I want
you
to
are
amend that
not.
statement and say, but I do in my head, but then I have to amend that statement and say, girl, that ain't writing, that's thinking. So I
Get
don't
out
write
your
every
head.
day. But
Yeah.
when I am in my mode of working on a project, I usually kind of put my head down and plow through, however long or short that is. What I do more frequently is I am typing little random notes in my phone now. It used to be, I mean, I used to carry the notepad and the pen. You know how it is. And you know how you have like the written on napkins and the matchbooks and all sorts of stuff
Baby.
from back in the day, right? But now we got some
Baby.
technology, so we think we're doing
Baby.
something. So now
I've
I
written
have just all these
whole
random little.
stories in restaurants.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
can I
Oh
get
yeah.
5 more napkins?
Oh yeah.
Give me
Because
some more
you're
napkins.
hustling, and
2 more napkins. When it
absolutely. So
comes,
you're
it
hustling, and you're
comes.
hearing this wonderful teleplay right behind you. I get it. I get it. Yeah. So
Yeah, because sometimes the little notes in the phone just doesn't work, or sometimes I'll have to I have to speak it, like I record it, like, but sometimes it has to come out. And I've done that. 5
yeah,
on napkins, please.
girl. It's real. It's real. So I do that. I do
It
that
is.
more often than having a regiment like writing session every day. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I am a one who has remembered that I had some phrase back in some area that I really, really loved. And I'll go back and
Mhm.
get it. And that has been titles of pieces. That has been whole premises of, work. So yeah, I I don't think I'm a word hoarder, right? But I don't think it's for naught, and I'm not ashamed of it at all. So I let that stuff stack up, and I use it. Yeah.
Another part of this book, another which I find so fascinating because it's something that I don't do, or I wouldn't say cannot do, but it's just not sort of kind of just not my thing. But Jayla, it's you're telling a story, but it's poetic, it's poetry.
Mm,
There's
yes.
it's a rhyme and rhythm. And that is so interesting to me because I haven't seen that in a very, very long time. And that is actually one of the smartest things of writing, like with Dr. Seuss. And I can't think of the other person that would had that form of writing, but Dr. Seuss, I mean, that's enough. So that's what this kind of reminded me of. So obviously you're a poet as well.
Yes, my humble beginnings were in poetry as, some 16-year-old with all this angst. But yeah, I started as a poet, and right in when I first went to college, one of my first classes, because I was on an artistic track, was like a screenwriting class. So I segued from poetry, prose, and then screenwriting, and then playwriting. So, but everything does stem from poetry for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right. Auntie Yaya, she does speak in rhyme, and that is intentional. I think it makes her more fun, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
for me as the author, I think it's the challenge. It's like, okay, how am I going to talk about segregation and Jim Crow in a rhyme scheme with,
Man.
and make it
And
age
you
appropriate, make it make sense, make it be truthful, like, so that's part of the like dance I'm doing in my head when I'm doing specifically Auntie Yaya's dialogue. And she's the only one. So the narration, that's prose. Jayla doesn't speak in rhyme, but Auntie Yaya, if her mouth is open, yes, you are gonna hear some
yeah,
educational rhyme come out of her mouth.
right.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Do me a favor. Why don't you give us just 3 pages of uh Jayla's the Alabama one. So 3 pages.
Okay.
And then show us like the pictures after each page.
Yes, of course. Girl, I'm a professional. I got this. All right. So let's just get serious, right? How about that?
Yeah.
So we're on Alabama, and like we said, her auntie Yaya is taking her in different places in Alabama, teaching her about what has happened there, who the people have been. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, when Auntie Yaya is in her teacher mode, she turns into an elder. And that's very important to me because I'm the family griot. I'm the genealogist in my family. I am the one who can go back, 6 generations. I know the daughter of the enslaved person. Like, that's important to me. And intergenerational dialogue is so important to me. When we lose an elder, we lose a library, right? And
right.
You got to transmit that to the young people before you go. So that's very important to me. And then also, a lot of us don't live in the traditional families. It's not just mama, daddy, 2 kids, and a dog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us, my mom was raised by both my parents were raised by their grandparents. You know what I'm saying? And so I intentionally wanted to have her experience not only that intergenerational connection, but just speak to like different experiences that some of our children may be having in their family dynamics. So Auntie Yaya is an elder when she is teaching. So if she looks a little gray-haired, that's why. All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. So, generations ago, child, Black citizens were tired. Many white folks had long mistreated them, stoking their ire. Can we see the book? Okay. They didn't want anything more than respect and their rights. And to get them, they engaged in many, many peaceful fights. So they gathered together and decided to march from Selma to Montgomery by crossing this arch. This is the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And on Bloody Sunday, dozens of armed Alabama state troopers stood in their way. Jayla listens as the questions and images swirl in her head. Auntie Yaya the elder continues to speak. Now, I know you could say peace and fights can't coexist. Like dry water or cold fire, it just doesn't make sense. But those citizens were wise and knew nothing could be clearer than the anger aimed at them reflected back like in a mirror. The peace was nonviolence because they didn't want bloodshed. And the fight was their struggle, knowing they must move ahead. To show the world how folks were acting, they made a great sacrifice. But to show it helped to change it, so they bravely paid the price.
Yes.
Auntie Yaya the elder leads her niece across the bridge. We shall overcome, the citizens all sing in one voice. They tried to cross the bridge, but troopers took away their choice. They were met with force and brutality, much to their dismay, and that kept them from crossing this bridge on that bloody Sunday. One more page, Kay.
One
so
more
they
page.
lost their peaceful fight.
I know, right?
So they lost their peaceful fight, Jayla asks, eager to hear how the story ends. She can't imagine anyone bullying anyone else for wanting to cross a bridge while singing. No, they won, my sweet child. That struggle had it. Whoop. Oh, my whole situation. Okay. That was embarrassing.
You're fine. You're fine. Okay. It happens.
It does, girl. I had this whole setup too with some books and some boxes. Okay.
It happens.
No, they won, my sweet child. That struggle had its victories. The next time they tried to cross the bridge, they did so with greater ease. Due to nonviolent resistance against rules that were unjust, eventually new laws were made to protect people like us. I grew up much freer than my parents were in their day, and you'll grow up freer still, and that's something to celebrate. But remember this one thing, Jayla. It's important you never forget. The gained generations before you fought for are now your duty to protect. So,
I love it. I love it. Look.
Thank you.
I'm
getting snapped. Thank you.
I love it. It is Jayla Johns with Senyah Haynes, guys. Jayla, I'm calling you Jayla. I'm calling you Jayla. Your brother is the illustrator, right?
Yes, he is the. Sorry, I'm getting my whole little. You did.
That's fine. Take time. Do your thing.
Okay. Yes, he was the creator of the original character. So he illustrated the first book. And then I do have another illustrator who's been working on the series from there. But he's the creator of Auntie Yaya and Jayla.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it was a family affair.
I think that's now. Did you have to? Because that's your brother. Is that your older brother or your younger brother?
Girl, I'm the second mama. Ain't no one older than me. That is
So
my dear
did you
baby
have
brother.
to pull? Did you have to pull teeth with your brother to help you, or was it just like you gave him that concept, you told him about the story, and then he just went with it?
Well, I wouldn't say pull teeth. No, my brother is an awesome artist. And I mean, this is just one example of his work. Like if you see his catalog, it's phenomenal. And so I think
Yeah.
ultimately this is his first published work. So he was glad to have that opportunity. So it wasn't like pulling teeth. Now he is not he's 11 years my junior.
Okay.
And I think this was his first like art for hire situation. So when I had to be like, the boss with some deadlines and have some meetings and stuff like that, like I think that the timing was an issue, but like not the content and definitely not the art. The art is amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
but
Okay.
family's family. Always something going on there.
Yeah, I just think it's really I love it when families like talented families can come together and collaborate and bring their expertise, to each project. There's something about creating, but then there's something about creating with your family and with your bloodline. Like it seems like it makes the entire project just that more dope. You know what I mean? It's just like
Absolutely. It can be
when
very rewarding.
when I did my first play, and like my nephew did my sound design, and then my other little cousin did this, and then my son and my daughter, they helped me back. You know what I'm saying? It was just my mom and my dad. It's just it's it hits different. It really
It's
does.
special.
So
Yeah. And sometimes
kudos
family
for
are the
those.
only willing hands you can find. So yeah. It's
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Like I don't have to. It's like you be on you be on the same page. Like I don't have to explain myself too much to my nephew. I can say whatever. I can just say what it is that I want, and he knows exactly what I want, and then he produces it, and he's just like, okay, now stop hovering. You know what I'm saying? He'll tell me to go sit down somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a hover. Senyah, where can we find your work? Where I'm gonna pin a comment. So where can we find if we want to buy Jaylus Johns? Where can we find this? How can we get information about you? How can we contact you, Miss Senyah Haynes?
Good question. So these books can be found on palindromeglobal.com.
Spell that palindrome, PALINDRO.
Yeah, PALINDROME global.com. And then very soon, by the end of this year, the books will also be on sale on the collaborators website, Rainbow Room Publishing. So when that's happening, I will also put on my website the other places they can be found. And yeah, that's the main repository for the work right now, palindromeglobal.com.
Okay. I'm going to get that up on the there it is.
Yay.
Find Jaylus Johns by authors Haynes.
Ooh, real time. Awesome.
Yeah, so I really thank you for coming on the
Thank
show.
you so much.
I really enjoyed it. I went nuts. The people need to know that I went nuts when I read this book. Well, basically, I went nuts with the concept, but then I went nuts with when I read the book. You know what I'm saying? Again, and it was just like, oh my God, I went crazy, and I only do that with stuff that I believe in. You know what I'm saying? And I really believe in this particular project, and I wish you well. I appreciate you. I honor you as another writer. Keep going, keep
Thank you.
pressing,
Yes.
keep creating, keep being you. I want my copy every time it's done.
Yeah,
I
no,
want
girl,
my
you on the
copy.
short
I
list.
can have my collection so I can use it for my research, for my series, or whatever I got going on in my
Hey,
head.
share the love. Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
just thank you again for being on the show. Again, you were wonderful. This was wonderful. Um, Blessings to you. To the rest of the audience, thank you all for watching. Be nice, be kind, be sweet. We're still going through this rough pandemic time, so be nice, be kind to people. Check on your people. Tell them that you love them, you need them, etc., etc. Again, Senyah, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so
And
much.
for
Thank
those
you.
of
I
you who are
appreciate
watching,
it.
you have a wonderful rest of your Friday and enjoy your weekend. And we'll catch you next Friday. Thank you for
Bye.
watching.
Thank you, Kev.
Bye.
So appreciative.